And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called West of Africa, which is a game about basically settling on islands. It's another one of those games that's named about a portion of the world. Wonder why they didn't call it Canary Islands, but whatever. West of Africa is a game in which you are using cards in your hand to choose actions, but they also determine initiative. And you're buying and selling goods, you know, your typical thing that you do in these sorts of games. There's a bit of a twist though. Let me show you. Now the goal of West of Africa is to get the most points. Players will keep track of their points down here. When one person reaches 25 points, the game is going to end. Players are then going to get 1 point for every 10 gold that they have, and then whoever has the most points wins. Now you're going to get points for controlling islands and for having the most gold during the course of the game. Players are going to each have a handful of cards, and in each round of the game, players are going to look through these cards and they're going to play up to four cards from their hand. They can play a fifth card, but it's going to cost extra gold to do so. Now, when you play cards, after everyone has played their cards face down, everyone's going to add the numbers together, and whoever has the lowest number will go first, second lowest number, third, etc., etc. And so then once it happens, each player is going to take a turn based on the cards that they play. Now, the one card players have is a -4. This doesn't do anything other than reduce your number so that you can go earlier in turn order. But once you play one of these, you give it to the person on your left, and then that you can play multiple of these if you want to. Now, most of the cards that you have in your hand are different islands that match the different islands on the board. But there are also cards in your hand that will allow you to take actions. For example, this lets you move your people 4 times. So if I'm the red player, I might go 1, 2, 3, 4, or if I was white, I might go 1, 2, 3, 4. You can move the different people around the board. This one here lets you move your ships, and this lets you move your ship up to 3 spaces. On your first turn, you put the ship in any of the moorings that are out there, and so I can move that 3 times. And if I end in a spot and there's already ships that are in all the moorings there, I simply push one of those ships along the direction that I came in. Ships can also carry different goods around. The last 3 actions all have to be played with island cards. So you can cultivate goods on an island, but basically I have to play them with the island that I'm going to be doing them on. I could play it with multiple islands. In fact, this one which lets me sell goods, I could buy and sell goods on the same islands. You simply have to play this card with 1 or more island cards, this card with 1 or more island cards, and the building card with 1 or more island cards where you're going to build settlements. Now, when you cultivate goods, you'll notice at the top of the board here, each player has goods in their color. So when you are limited to these goods. So when I cultivate goods on an island, they're going to cost me 3 each to cultivate on an island, but I'm also limited by. So maybe I say, okay, I'm going to put these here. I pay 9 gold, and I cultivate those. At the end of the turn, these all get moved to the warehouse. And turn order matters here because if I cultivate goods here, for example, if I do both of these resources, then no other player can use that resource as they're putting it on the island. Your cost for that is 3. However, for each person there, you can reduce the cost by 1. So if I have 2 people there, this would only cost me 3. However, once I'm done using that, these people have to go back to one of the 2 ships. Selling the goods, you're going to sell for the price, and they have to come from the warehouse. So here, for example, I can sell goods for 9. Over here, these islands for 12, these islands for 9, these islands for 6, and you can use boats to move goods from one island to the other island to make them more worthwhile selling those goods, because you'll get more money selling them at these islands over here. It doesn't matter what type of good it is, you can just simply sell any good for those prices. Now, at the end of each round, whoever has the top 2 players have money, and money is kept track of up here, and it matters when you move to the first empty space, so if there's 2 people there, whoever has more money will win, and that breaks ties and things, so that can be pretty critical. But the top 2 players of money are going to get points, and points are kept track of down here. You're also going to see who controls each island. Now, control for an island is taken from people, from boats, and from goods you have on an island. Goods count for 1 control point, the wooden pieces count for 2. So maybe at this island here, for example, you can see that red has 2, 4, 6, yellow has 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yellow controls an island. When you control an island, you become the alcalde of that island, or alcalde, the mayor of that island. You'll take a token that matches that island and you get a victory point. Every turn you control an island, you get a victory point. Also, having control of an island allows you to play the settlement card on a future turn. So you can't play settlement cards in the first turn, but on future turns you can. When you play a settlement, you simply pay the amount that's shown on the settlement spot. So this settlement here actually shuts this down from producing grapes, but it costs 6 and you put that there. After the 6s are used up, then you put them on the 12s. When you put settlements out, there's a certain number that are out for each turn. So you see there's 6 in a 4 to 5 player game, only 4 in a 3 player game. And so if all the settlements are used too bad, each settlement you put out gives you 3 points. And that's basically it. You just keep doing this time after time after time until someone reaches 25 points. You do final scoring, and whoever has the most points wins the game. Now this is a straight up Euro game, and the basic parts of the game, buying and selling goods, that's really not that unique. There's also area control, which is also not unique. Now I don't often see those combined in the same game, buying and selling goods and then controlling islands. So I find that interesting. The most interesting part of this game is picking the cards at the beginning of the game. All those cards have different numbers at the top, and so you have to determine the ones that you're going to do that turn, but you also have to think about, do I want to go first or not? See, in this game, turn order is critical, more critical than almost any game I've seen. And in a 5-player game, and even a 4-player game, it's pretty vicious, because in those type of games, if I go first and I pick the same island as you to cultivate, I might cultivate all the spots, and then you're left with 1 or less. And if 3 people have tried to go to the same island, third guy's getting nothing. Near the end of the game, it's even more important to go first, because there's only so many of those settlements to build each turn. And by the way, if all the settlements are built, that's another way that the game ends. But I haven't seen that happen yet. But that's another way the game ends. But just building settlements before other players, that's a big deal. If there's one thing I don't like about the game, I'm not sure. I think the people who have the most money should get an extra point each turn. It seems like you already have a lot of rewards for having a lot of money, also known as having a lot of money. Not sure why you get extra for that, but it is what it is. The controlling the islands is pretty critical. You know, you're like, why should I move my ship around? You know, if I take these goods to this island, I can sell them for a higher price. Well, whoopee-doo. Well, no, it's not just the 3-coin difference in price, but you might drop a good off an island just to help control that island. And controlling each island is worth a victory point each turn of the game. So you're going to want to control. So you're moving your people and ships around, and those people give you discounts on buying the goods, but at the same time, when you discount them, you're sending them back to the ships. Wouldn't you rather keep the people there to control the island? That's a tough choice. My other criticism about the game is those -4 cards. I think they're neat. I like the ability to use them, but the game has a bit of a fragile nature to it, because if one person decides they're not going to ever use those -4 cards, they're kind of a stopgap. They just all end up in that person's hand, and that's it. And I like those, and I've seen it happen where I'm like, I don't feel like using these. I don't feel like wasting one of my cards in a -4. But that makes the game more interesting that those exist. So the fact that you have to pass them to your left after you use them is a good rule. But because if one player decides that they're not going to use them, that kind of, But the game itself is cool. The board looks neat. I like the big splash of blue with the islands. They probably could have delineated better which island goes to which one. They're like, oh yeah, follow the lines. Those lines are not very easy to see. And there's some rules, like if I bump someone off an island and they get sent to another spot and there's someone there, does that person get bumped, or do you get bumped farther? Some minor things that might have been addressed, but still pretty solid. I don't know that people will be talking about this in a couple years, but I think the concept and that the cards and the numbers at the top equaling turn order, I think that's neat. Now, some people aren't going to like that because of the vicious nature that if you go last, tough luck for you. But other people are going to enjoy that. I am one of those, and I like to see that mechanism maybe ported to other games. So anyhow, that's West of Africa. Check it out. Dice Tower Judgment approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
shut the door.